Today, we're pitting 60 of the most iconic platforming game heroes against each other to see who will win the Squid Game.
Welcome to the Squid Game. We're excited for everyone to play.
Today's roster of contestants is as follows: Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, Blue Toad, Nabbit, Poochie, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Amy, Mega Man, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, Kiddy Kong, Cranky Kong, Funky Kong, Kirby, Meta Knight, King Dedede, Bandana Waddle Dee, Prince Fluff, Wario, Samus Aran, Shovel Knight, Spectre Knight, Plague Knight, King Knight, the Knight from Hollow Knight, Hornet, Simon Belmont, Super Meat Boy, Bubsy, Frogger, Croc, Ratchet, Clank, Jack, Sly Cooper, Bentley, Murray, Banjo, Kazooie, Madeline or Celeste, Peppino Spaghetti, The Noise, Rayman, Scrooge McDuck from that one NES DuckTales game, Shantae, Klonoa, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Astro Boy, Sackboy, Pac-Man, Tori, and SpongeBob SquarePants from Battle for Bikini Bottom.
The following are the ground rules in this Squid Game. Number 1, no outside allies or sidekicks. 2, no outside weapons, with the sole exception of any equipment needed to survive. Number 3, no magic. 4, natural abilities are allowed. The first game is red light, green light. You may move forward when it shouts green light. Stop when it shouts red light. If your movement is detected afterwards, you will be eliminated.
Speed, composure, and general athletic ability are the most important skills in this round. We're giving all the best-known platformer mascots a pass in this round, just for the sheer volume of threats they've survived. Mario, Sonic, Kirby, Donkey Kong, and most of their friends are safe in this round. But on to what we mean by most of. Kiddy Kong is down for the count, on account of the fact that he's an infant.
Player, you have been eliminated.
And even by infant standards, he isn't very smart. He's probably getting distracted by some rocks or bugs on the ground, while the others are staying still during the red light phases. His elimination would definitely freak out Dixie, which would result in a whole new level of double trouble for her. Now, since most of these characters are good-natured, they're likely to be freaked out, and while many could maintain composure in their fear, others would fall victim to terror and uncertainty. In particular, Crash Bandicoot is hyperactive even on his best day, and this manic marsupial would almost certainly go all Tasmanian Devil the moment he heard a gunshot. Rayman and Frogger would also get taken out.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Since they're also rather simple-minded. And we don't mean that as an insult, it's just that Rayman is laid back and positive enough to be completely caught off guard by the game's true nature. And Frogger is, well, just a regular frog. In fact, with his luck, he'd probably get stepped on. But how about the indie heroes? The speed demon Burb, known as Tori, would get past that finish line even faster than you could beat one of our games. And Shovel Knight and the Knight are both stalwart warriors who risk their lives to help others, albeit for different reasons. Similarly, Hornet is as speedy and composed as it gets. We hate to eliminate Madeline here, since her whole character arc is about confronting her struggles with anxiety, but if there was ever a time where being anxious was reasonable, this would be it. The panic of ending up in Squid Game would destroy most normal people, especially those already suffering from anxiety and panic disorders. Poor Peppino has PTSD on top of all that, and even if he got close to the finish line, the Noise would probably just shove him down for fun. But there's one indie hero we don't feel bad for eliminating: King Knight.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Not only is he an idiot, he's also a blatant coward, and would break down crying for his mommy the moment he realized he was in danger. He probably just would have used the money to demolish the moon and replace it with a statue of himself though, so we honestly don't feel bad. Murray's heist experience with Sly and Bentley would at least get him close to the end, but as time ran down, he'd get panicked and rush for the finish line without paying attention to the next red light, turning this trio into a duo.
Player, you have been eliminated.
As for Bubsy, his one-liners thankfully didn't tick off the guards this time. They did tick off Wario though, who pickpocketed and pantsed him, resulting in an embarrassing trip that he took a comedically long time to get up from. Finally, some of these characters get this strange feeling that they've been here before. Luigi darted for the exit as soon as the first shot was fired. Then there's Amy, who went back with Sonic to try and help some of the weaker players who fell during round 1, but unfortunately got too distracted to notice when a red light was called, panicking due to how low the clock had ticked down. Kirby nearly suffered the same fate, since strangely having a sense of how dangerous this game was, he and his friends managed to help some players like Toad and Diddy Kong across. As time ran out, they ended up back near the beginning of the field, resulting in Kirby and Meta Knight just barely having time to cross the finish line. Bandana Waddle Dee tripped, so with only 10 seconds left during the last green light, King Dedede chucked his right-hand Waddle Dee to the finish line, unfortunately ending this round with a noble sacrifice from Dreamland's King.
47 out of 60 players remain. Let's move on to the next game, Honeycomb. Players must cut out the shape from their cookies. Those who break their cookie or run out of time will be eliminated.
Patience, steady hands, and dexterity will come in handy here, as will general resourcefulness and creativity. Ratchet and Clank are definitely more well known for their skills with crazy weapons than with arts and crafts, but let's not forget that Ratchet is a self-taught mechanic, meaning he has the perfect skill set for this challenge. Plus, they literally survived and shut down an even more gory death game in their own series, so they're definitely a duo to watch out for. Sly and Bentley are two more PlayStation mascots in good shape here, since Sly goes on high-stakes heists on the regular, with Bentley using his hacking skills as support, sometimes even fighting alongside Sly on the front lines. They don't want Murray to have been eliminated in vain, after all. Like Clank, Astro Boy and Mega Man are robots, and therefore have precision literally built into their skill sets, so they're good for now. The same can be said for Samus. The suit components fused to her body allow for greater precision than many other players. Samus would then help Klonoa with carving his cookie, sensing that he was a scared kid despite his surprising strength. As for our indie game heroes, Hornet once again thrives in this round thanks to her lightning-fast reflexes. She quite literally uses a needle and thread as a weapon in her own series, so coupled with her tiny size, this game is second nature for her, and the Knight won't have a very hard time either. Neither would Plague Knight, who's a skilled alchemist and constantly works with his hands. Whether in the lab or chucking bombs in battle, he has to rely on steady aim in day-to-day life. That makes him a good candidate for this round, unlike the Noise,
Player, you have been eliminated.
who thought it would be funny to start strangling some of the guards. He actually did knock a few out before they finally eliminated him, and even the front man agreed that he was one of the biggest freaks they ever admitted into the games. And since I know someone's still confused as to his inclusion, SpongeBob is still in the running. Throughout his various video game appearances, he has some impressive physical attacks, most notably in Battle for Bikini Bottom, where he makes intricately detailed bubble shapes in a matter of seconds to use as attacks. Scared though he may be, he's gonna do just fine in this round. Pac-Man's doing just fine as well. Despite his hands being huge mittens, in the Pac-Man World Series, he's at least capable of piloting a submarine, which proves he knows how to use his hands just as well as a normal person. The remaining Mario characters are in shock at Luigi's early demise, but Mario would rally them together to work hard and carve their cookies well, giving them the confidence to do their best. Unfortunately, Toad got a little too confident, and in his excitement, he broke his cookie almost immediately after Mario's pep talk.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Nabbit is also out, since while he did actually finish carving his cookie, he was caught trying to steal some of the extras from the soldier's supply. I'm pretty sure Nabbit is immortal though, so yeah, he's probably fine. Diddy Kong wasn't too motivated to get through this round, still dejected after the loss of Dixie in round 1, but DK encouraged him to keep going, and they carved their cookies together so they could win, buy lots of bananas, and give Dixie a proper send-off back home. A pep talk Funky got behind quickly. Kirby, Meta Knight, and Bandana D had the same motivation after King Dedede's elimination. Cranky Kong, on the other hand, spent way too much time complaining about the game to focus properly. What happened to when games were honest? Why, you whippersnappers didn't even give us the whole deal before we played. You're all a bunch of crooks. If I were in my prime, the time's up? What timer? Farewell, old timer. Poochie and Yoshi are out because of their more animalistic nature, even compared to other animal mascots. Yoshi would come close, but he'd probably be more worried about helping Poochie, and let's face it, Poochie is eating that cookie the moment he sees it. Croc, Spyro, and Tori are also among the unfortunate anthropomorphs who just aren't built to carve with the care and precision they need. And while Sonic's composure and Tails' mechanical skills got them through this round, Knuckles' short temper resulted in 1 broken cookie and 2 broken hearts. Well, 3. I'm sure Shadow's at least kinda sad about Knuckles being eliminated. Sorta.
37 players remain. It's time for our next game, 6-legged pentathlon. The rules are as follows. Players will split up into groups of 5, tie their legs together, and move in tandem around a track. Every 10 meters, one player will play a mini-game until it is completed, with each member playing once. The goal is to complete all games in the allotted time, repeating each one until it is complete.
So here are the mini-games. Diaki, throw a paper tile at the ground to flip over another paper tile. Flying stone, throw a small stone at another small stone and knock it down. Gongi, a traditional game of Korean jacks. Spinning top, and jeggy. Kick a jeggy in the air 5 times in a row, kind of like hacky sack. Balance, composure, and general gaming prowess are important characteristics for this game, but arguably most important is teamwork and the ability to put together a good team. This will be the point in the games where alliances and teams start to be formed. Now, it's more important than ever to stick to whatever allies you do have. Kirby, Bandana D, Meta Knight, and Prince Fluff would make a great team, but in a certain lovable penguin's absence, they would need to recruit a 5th, a role that Kirby would offer to Pac-Man, since they share some similar hobbies. Similarly, the Mario Kart Wii variant of the DK crew, Donkey, Diddy, and Funky Kong, would need to join forces with Sly and Bentley, making for a team with brains, brawn, and precision in spades. Samus and Mega Man get along due to their shared robotic nature, and they've taken a few of the lesser-sung heroes under their belts. Astrobot, Klonoa, and Shantae join their crew without hesitation. Now, as for some of the more sketchy players, Spectre Knight decided to team up with Shadow, a fellow edgelord who was less concerned about survival and more concerned with seeing what trials these games had to offer. But even so, they weren't quite ready to throw in the towel just yet. The mysterious Hornet earned her way into their ranks with their surprising sword-fighting prowess, making for a team where nobody's quite sure what the others are thinking. Finally, players with obvious physical strength, like Simon Belmont and Jack, won't have any trouble securing a team. But with a count of 37 at the moment, 2 players will be eliminated due to lack of team. And today, those unfortunate players are Meat Boy and Wario.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Meat Boy was just a little too unsettling for most of the other players to trust, and his look of constantly being on the brink of death made them hesitant to trust him when their lives were at stake. As for Wario, it's not that they thought they couldn't trust him. No, they knew they couldn't trust him. So it's curtains for our favorite greedy, garlic-gobbling gremlin. With 7 teams, the games began, and for most players, they went pretty well. But unfortunately, that can't be said for the team of one noble warrior, Shovel Knight. It pains us to say it because Shovel Knight absolutely has the skills to get through this round, but knowing him, he'd refuse to leave any good-natured player behind. He instead opted for some of the players who were honest, but lacked the charisma or outwardly visible strength to get a team.
Player, you have been eliminated.
These players included Scrooge McDuck, Plague Knight, SpongeBob, and the Knight. Plague Knight begged Shovel Knight to team up with him, knowing he might just be the only shot to get back to his girlfriend Mona. But while they came close, SpongeBob's shakiness and the Knight's tiny size used up a bit too much time for them to pass. Still, at least they went down with dignity, although Scrooge certainly had some choice words in his last moments.
30 players remain. Our next game is Mingle. Here are the rules. Players will stand on a rotating platform in the center of a large circular room. At any given moment, a number will be called out, at which point players have 30 seconds to get into groups of said number and secure a room for themselves. Any player who does not find a room with the correct number of players will be eliminated.
Speed, composure, and ruthlessness are your best friends in this round. Which characters are able to make sure they get a room, and which ones would actually do what it took to go through with it? The remaining duos in the game have an automatic advantage, since they're used to working together under more normal circumstances. Sonic and Tails, Ratchet and Clank, Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong, and Sly and Bentley are all in good standing here. During that 2 round, they could stick together, and during the others, they could count on smaller players or just other allies to get them through. Hornet, for instance, would be wise enough to make some strong allies that could literally carry her through the game despite her tiny size. But there isn't room for everyone in every instance. When Daisy and Peach saw the 2 pop up, Mario prioritized escorting them to safety before saving himself. But despite all his efforts, he ended up getting tripped up by some of the speedier, faster players, dooming Mario as the first loser of this round.
Player, you have been eliminated.
On a similar note, Bandana D had a moment of courage in which he wanted to pass on the kindness DDD had shown him, and he bravely sacrificed himself to keep anyone from snatching Kirby and Meta Knight's room from them. Due to their lightweight, Sackboy and Prince Fluff tumbled their way to elimination. Though momentum stirred up by the other players was a little too much for them to handle. Pac-Man took a tumble that made even the master of rev rolls himself pretty dizzy, and was too disoriented to find a room in time. Last to go in this game was Funky Kong.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Who gladly held the door open for his fellow remaining Kongs, only to find himself unfortunately left without someone to go to a room with. He figured that there was no way someone as radical as him would lose, but he underestimated the ruthlessness of this game.
24 players remain. Congratulations to everyone who made it this far. It's time for the next game. Hide and seek. Players will be separated into two teams, hiders blue and seekers red. Seekers will be given a knife with the requirement of killing at least one hider within the time limit. Hiders will be given one of 3 keys, gaining access to various doors and hiding places throughout the arena. They must either find a 3-keyed exit before time is up, or simply stay alive for 30 minutes.
For this game, roles are selected randomly, and players have a few minutes to mutually agree to swap if they so desire. With that said, here's how we think the teams would pan out. The hiders include Peach, Daisy, Tails, Diddy Kong, Kirby, Spectre Knight, Hornet, Clank, Ratchet, Shantae, Klonoa, and Astrobot. And the seekers include Sonic, Shadow, Donkey Kong, Mega Man, Samus, Meta Knight, Simon, Jack, Sly, Bentley, Banjo, and Kazooie. Hiders will want stealth on their side, but if they run into a seeker, they'll either need the speed to outrun them or the strength to defend themselves. Seekers will need strength and speed for obvious reasons, but also the sheer brutality needed to eliminate their victim. Sly and Bentley are heroic thieves, but they definitely know how to mow down their enemies when the situation demands it, so we think they'll be able to fend for themselves during this round. With Bentley's high-tech wheelchair, which does count as something he needs to live, mind you, they managed to track down Shantae and Diddy Kong, allowing both of the bandits to pass, albeit reluctantly. Unfortunately for Jack, he decided to go after Hornet, and while Jack is a formidable foe, he has a short fuse, and rather than letting go when a bug seemed weirdly capable of evading him, he went after her out of sheer pride, a mistake he wouldn't bounce back from.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Other successful hiders include Kirby, Clank, and Ratchet, whose small size and, in Ratchet's case, general survival skills helped them out. Jack wasn't the only seeker to falter here. Banjo and Kazooie were lucky enough to both draw Seeker as their role, figuring they could work together and find a couple of players to eliminate so they could move on. But unfortunately, Kazooie's insistence on insulting her potential prey, as well as Banjo's general laid-back personality, made it tough for them to eliminate targets before they were spotted. As such, they were eliminated.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Spectre Knight also falls here since he has less reason to fight for survival than most of the others. But onto some successful seekers. Shadow didn't have any issue taking out Klonoa, even though he felt some vague sense of remorse for it, and since Spectre Knight is undead, Simon was able to justify exercising him without much issue. In a more heartbreaking victory, Samus was able to admit defeat, refusing to hurt any innocents, until the noble little Astrobot, helpful as ever, offered to let Samus deactivate him so she could move on, realizing that she might be able to defeat the higher-ups behind the game. It was a reluctant win on Samus's part, but a win nonetheless. Tails offered the same deal to Sonic, but given how much more personal their connection is, it's hard to see why his offer was met with a big no.
Player, you have been eliminated.
With the clock reaching 0, Mega Man, Meta Knight, and Donkey Kong have been eliminated for failure to eliminate a hider.
12 players remain. It's time for the next game. Marbles. You will play the game of your choice with your partner. The player to take all 10 marbles wins. The loser will be eliminated.
Players pair up in teams of 2. However, it's revealed that they'll be playing against each other, meaning your opponent is likely the person in the games closest to you. You can play a game of luck or a game of skill. You can play fair or you can play dirty. But one thing's for sure, whoever you're paired up with will need to be eliminated in order for you to move on. Peach versus Daisy is the first matchup. Ironic that the damsels in distress ended up lasting longer out of all of the Mario reps of the day. Both of them are able to compete in various challenges, from Mario Party minigames to actually joining Mario and the gang on their adventures. We think both of them would feel conflicted about trying their hardest here, but although Daisy is the more competitive and athletic of the pair, Peach is arguably more active as a ruler and thus has more reason to push herself to win. She'd also keep a cooler head, so we're giving her the win here.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Then there's Tails versus Shadow, which pits our two final Sonic reps against each other. Shadow could definitely outsmart outsmart Tails if the need arises, especially considering he'd have a way cooler head, but he'd also likely see the big picture here. We could see him going a little easy on Tails in a game of skill. That way the guards would attack him and he'd have a valid reason to give him hell in return. So Shadow is eliminated, but he got eliminated in a pretty badass way. Moving on to Kirby versus Samus. And man, I keep really rooting for Samus in these, but she's just not cutthroat enough to sentence Kirby to death. Samus's top priority is protecting the galaxy, and she knows fully well that Kirby is even more capable of doing so. Then there's Hornet versus Simon, which would be a relatively straightforward match, but honestly, given the difference in size, we don't see there being much that Hornet could do.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Next is Ratchet versus Clank, one of the more tragic duels in this round. Clank is definitely a lot smarter than Ratchet, but Ratchet is a lot stronger than Clank, not including Clank's giant Clank iteration, that is. While both would be willing to throw the game so the other could live, Clank is more capable of playing the old tricking the opponent into winning card. A heartfelt farewell and a thirst for vengeance is waiting for Ratchet. And last but not least is Sly versus Bentley. Like the last round, Bentley would be willing to throw the game for Sly, but there'd be no honor in that. So instead they decided to play fair and square with a game of skill. It was close, but Sly narrowly won, earning Bentley a trip to the great beyond, where he'll have a fresh pair of legs waiting for him.
Only 6 players remain. It's time to move on to our penultimate game, Jump Rope. In this game, players must cross a dangerous bridge while making sure they aren't knocked off by a gigantic double Dutch-style jump rope. They'd best be careful, because the rope speeds up over time, and they only have 20 minutes to cross.
Unlike last stepping stones, there's no reliance on luck here. Just sheer agility, speed, and composure. You'll need courage, balance, and good timing to get through this round. People with kind hearts could help weaker players cross, but those with a more mischievous nature could easily sabotage the game to help their own chances. But real quick, let's see who's still standing. Princess Peach, Tails, Kirby, Simon, Ratchet, and Sly. Peach takes compassion on Kirby right away, recognizing that he's also lost a lot of loved ones today. Her kindness is returned as Kirby gladly carries her across the pit. Sly's incredible balance and composure helped him across. Tails followed suit. That was until a frustrated Simon grabbed him by the legs, feeling as though flight was practically cheating. Ratchet stood up for Tails, who just wanted to survive, but Simon, snapping from the pressure, just wasn't having it. The scuffle that ensued sent an already devastated Tails tumbling to the bottom, and as Ratchet silently led Simon across, the Exorcist attempted to apologize, leading to an enraged Ratchet shoving Simon to the depths.
4 players remain. It is now time for the final round. Prepare for our final game, Squid Game.
This game is designed for at least 4 players with at least 3 eliminations. Players press a button on each tower to begin the round, after which they'll have a set amount of time to push at least 1 living player off the tower. Once a player is pushed off, the others may move on to the next tower. However, many players are on the final circle-shaped tower at the end after at least 1 player was eliminated, will be crowned the winner or winners of the Squid Game. The remaining players can either depend on diplomacy to decide which player to gang up on, or they can just jump into a full-on brawl and see how things turn out. And we start on the square tower. Our last 4 players are Sly, Ratchet, Princess Peach, and Kirby. It was pretty clear to the others that Ratchet was the loose cannon out of the remaining players. At least, that's what Ratchet himself thought. So before they could get to him, Ratchet lunged for Sly, who he suspected was the most likely to bring a case against him. Without weapons, their fight was actually kind of even, but it was ironically Peach who tried to separate them, got knocked away, and fell into the abyss. The players then move on to the Triangle Tower. Having some time to think with a cool head, Ratchet felt bad about what happened to Peach, but just the same, he realized that there was no peaceful end to this game. 2 more players would need to be eliminated, and only 1 could stand at the end. One look at Sly told him without any words that it had to be one of them. I mean, you didn't think they were going to hurt Kirby, did you? I mean, he would demolish both of them, but Ratchet was able to ask him to take a dive and secretly float off the premises, allowing Ratchet and Sly to move on and whoever survived to share the prize money with him. Kirby agreed, though he doesn't really know what prize money is and only cares about how many snacks it can buy him. So it all comes down to the Circle Tower. With that, we're in the final round. Ratchet and Sly have lost their closest friends in this game, and while that money won't undo their pain, it'll at least make it a little easier to bear. There's no reasoning. All that's left is a close quarters, mano-a-mano battle. While it would be a close call, Ratchet's bloodlust at this point, not for Sly specifically, but for the games that took his best friend away from him as a whole, pull would be enough to overpower Sly. Maybe he'll be able to land on his feet and take out a few guards, but either way, he's not leaving with that prize money.
And with that, Ratchet is crowned the winner of this Squid Game. He'll come back to this part of the galaxy later, and he'll have some toys to share with the higher-ups of the Squid Game.